Coach Eads, thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning, first of all.
Morning.
Coach Eads is the head coach over at Crafton Hills, a native of Upland, California. She is now entering her fifth season. And again, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
As you know, first and foremost, we start these interviews by doing a check of how you're doing. How's the family doing? I know all of us are fighting this pandemic in one way or another, dealing with it. Tell me, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Family's all hanging in.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy, healthy. I had a nephew born right at the start of the pandemic, so
Congratulations.
that's exciting for my brother, and
There you go.
kind of a whirlwind experience there. So totally a lot of fun. But yeah, really just kind of staying busy and trying not to eat everything in sight because I don't have anything better to do. But it's fun. With Crafton, we're not really doing a whole heck of a lot right now. All the classes are online and, trying to keep the kids engaged with, their academics and making sure everybody stays eligible, and which is a challenge, especially with the new format and kind of keeping everybody still connected, but also on top of stuff. So with athletics, it's really kind of interesting because the pools aren't open to us to practice. We don't have any face-to-face time to train. So everything we're doing is completely remote, and you kind of basically are just like taking them at their word that they're getting their stuff done, and hopefully
How about the fires? Have you guys been affected by the fires?
I know a lot of, like I said earlier, I live in West Covina, so I've got a different fire than the kids that I work with. So they've got the fire up there in Yucaipa. What is it, around Oak Glen area?
Yep.
I've got the Bobcat fire here in Azusa. So yeah, I mean, we're just surrounded by fires, and the air quality is not super great. But as far as I've been made aware, all my athletes are fine, and nobody's been evacuated that I'm aware of.
Good.
So everybody seems like they're doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a microcosm of everything that's going on in 2020, let's add fires to this year as well. So, but why not? Why let's add that. Let's add that to our bingo card.
Yeah, where's Godzilla? Just.
Well, hold on. That's a couple of weeks later. That's when Godzilla's going to show up. Hey, let's get right to it. Crafton was having a real successful year before the season abruptly ended. Can you tell me some of the success that you guys were having before, obviously, the shutdown?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, with any new program, it takes a few years to kind of get swimmers and get better and faster. And so our first season, was kind of a false start with the CCCAA. Some paperwork got not turned in properly or whatever. So we kind of got off to a rough start. We had 5 kids the first year, and every year we've gotten a little bit bigger and a little bit faster. So that's kind of what we're at. But this past season has been definitely our most successful season. We've got some really, really top end kids. And yeah, I think we were starting to make a little bit of noise in the PCAC where we were swimming out of.
Sure.
But turning some heads with our speed. Now all we're really trying to do is marry a little bit of speed with a few more kids. So
sure. Yeah, no, I'm familiar with your guys' work. As mentioned when we were speaking offline, I was at Mesa College for a couple of years, and good friends with Resh and Fagan and all those guys, and I definitely kept seeing you guys. Whether it was the Waterman Festival, all the other meets that you guys go to. Now, speaking of the Waterman Festival, I know you guys have some success there. Can you tell me some of the athletes that you remember who made marks at the Waterman Festival? And also at the same time, are you aware of what their plans are moving forward into 2021?
Yeah, so on our squad, we've got a handful of kids that did a really great job. Off the top of my head, we did have the 2 pentathlon champions from the men's side and the women's side, so that was pretty excited to take home the top spot for both sides. So that was AJ Sparks on the men's side and Maya Jackson on the women's side.
Okay.
And that Waterman Festival is really kind of a lot of fun because it's just a real informal season opener. Hey, how you doing? And just a lot of fun, swimming some weird stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
the kids just love it. They have a blast.
Yeah.
So it was nice to start the season with, kind of on a high note, and, they got to celebrate a little bit. So
Sure. Hey, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here. I know that, again, this is your fifth year and only been a couple of years as far as openly competing. Can you tell me a little bit about your philosophy of the team that you have, but also the athletes that you are looking forward to try out? What is your ideal vision of the program, and also the athletes that you want to bring in?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like I rework that every season.
Well, that's a sign of a good coach. That's definitely a sign of a good coach, because not every single year you're going to have the exact same type of athlete. So you kind of have to cater to what you have.
Yeah. And again, with a new program, it's like I said, the first year we had 5 kids, and, the next year we had 8, and then the year after that we had 12. And so it's like we've been constantly growing, which is great.
Yeah.
And I feel like just the vibe of every season has been just completely different. I mean, last season our athletic director was on maternity leave, and, just a ton of, that was a huge ball of wax that we were kind of navigating at the time.
Yeah.
So, every year is a completely different situation. But as far as this season, coming up, I think, my athletes are just hungry because of what happened last season. It's like,
Sure.
season, kind of was just stopped in the middle, and, right now they just want to get out there and race and have a good time. And, because right now, like, some of them are training back, like, with their club teams, and some of them are, just trying to find water anywhere. So it's going to be interesting. I think going forward, we're really going to have to kind of work out the kinks and see where everybody's at, conditioning wise, and see who's been working out, who's been swimming, who's not been swimming. So it'll be interesting. But I think for me, it's just being really flexible with, obviously this is community college swimming. This is not, NCAA Division I. These kids aren't being paid to swim. They're not, so I think for me, my philosophy is just basically allowing them to, compete, but also being flexible with, what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish, and, getting them the best that they can.
Sure. Absolutely. Hey, you talked about, trying to figure out your athletes, what they're doing in the off season, or I don't even want to call it off season, because it's not off season. It's more of a pause.
Yeah.
Because of obviously what's happening in the world today. Do you have any, I guess, programming or ways that you do keep in touch with your athletes, as far as checking up with them, or them calling you and texting you? So, when they do come in, they're not, well, coach, I haven't swam in 6 months.
Swam since February of last year.
Yeah. Are there any things that you're doing to somewhat keep them in track?
Yeah. So right now they are registered for my preseason swim class.
Okay.
So we have our preseason swim class, and we also have our water polo program that's going on as well. So some of them are doing that. Some of them are doing the swim class if they don't want to play polo.
Sure.
But as far as like communication, I use the Remind set up quite a bit. That's really, I'm not a big fan of Canvas, Blackboard, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really giving major assignments to really utilize those platforms that much. It's, kind of more, exercise based stuff. So turning in papers and assignments, we're really not doing a whole lot of that. But yeah, I really just kind of keep tabs on them through Remind. I send them 3, their homework for my preseason swim classes, basically just doing 3 dryland sessions a week. They do a time lapse video of them actually doing the workout, and then that they just submit those videos, to get credit for the participation for the week.
Got it.
Yeah, it's, very, very low key. They basically, I send out 3 workouts on Tuesdays, and they've got until Monday the following week to turn them in. So, some of them have jobs, some of them have classes at different, they all have classes at different times. So it's not super structured on when they have to do each individual workout. It's kind of on their own.
Got it.
So just get it done.
Got it. Hey, Coach. I always, before we get to my last question, I know you guys don't have a formal tryout session. You guys have more of, you ask people if they have swimming experience, or people that are interested in swimming. What's the process if someone were interested in joining you guys?
So we do have the questionnaire, the link that I sent you online. And those responses come straight to my email. So that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me as far as, interest in joining the team.
Sure.
Like I said, we don't have a formal tryout because our team is still pretty small. So if you're interested, I mean, even if you don't have a ton of competitive experience or really any at all, we've definitely acquired athletes that have never swam before at all, and we've taught them. Some of our more success stories have actually happened where somebody's come along and like we had a guy last year. Well, he joined 2 years ago, but he swam again last year. That he had never competed before, and he just rocked it.
Wow.
He had been in the Marines, and he was like, you know what, I think I want to do this, and we basically taught him all the strokes, and he just dropped just a ton of time.
Yeah.
So
well,
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that's definitely, again, I say is a sign of a good program and a sign of a good coaching staff that can teach someone that's raw and be able to compete. So kudos to you and the program. Hey, Coach, last question for you. And I do this at the end of every single one of these interviews. During this pandemic, what's the one thing that you've learned or have learned to appreciate more?
I think, like all of us, I think we just, learned to appreciate, within my job, just the joy of being connected with your athletes, with your family, or, whoever, because, obviously being quarantined or isolated or, all that stuff, it's, you don't really notice it when you see these people every day, you kind of take for granted, just how fun people are, how interesting people are, just the joy of being able to talk with your athletes or people that you work with, or all of that. So I think the one thing that I've really started to appreciate is just enjoying coming to practice every day, coming to the pool, because when you're working, it's like some days you're like, oh man, this is a drag, like I'm so tired, like morning workouts, like so it's just really kind of resetting the mindset a little bit and being able to take joy and pride in being able to come to work out every day and being like, sweet, this is awesome. I get to see my swimmers every day and have weird little conversations.
No, that's part of being a team and being around your peers and your players, and that's what makes being part of a team fun. I mean, in 100%. Any sport at any level, that's what anyone will always say.
Yeah, and I know a bunch of my kids have expressed that within our preseason class of just like how difficult it is for them to stay motivated to do the dry lands, and because normally we're in the weight room together and we're listening to music, we're getting pumped up, and they're motivating each other, and without that they're doing the dry lands on their own, and it's like it's tough. So I definitely understand where they're coming from.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Eads, I thank you for your time. Again, just send me an email, send me a text anytime you ever want to come back on and talk to us about your program and your players. Best way to get a hold of you is via email at ceads@craftonhills.edu or at 909-389-3605. Coach Eads, thank you. Stay safe. And again, like I said, please don't hesitate to give me a call anytime and we'll get you back on.
Thank you, Bo. Have a good one.